Hey everyone, well, let's wake you up, and welcome to Comics from the Future. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our really big show where we show you some of the biggest and best books that you can pre-order by this weekend so you don't miss out on any of the comic goodness. Pretty awesome week of stuff here.
Yep.
I feel like even though the DC one is not their big event, it might as well be getting right into
Yeah.
it. Marvel's big event. Summer event. We're getting into the summer comic stuff, which is kind of the meatiest time of the year.
Yep.
Very excited about that. Remember to head over to infinityflux.net where you can follow along. You can place all of your pre-orders there. Everything that you pre-order, you get 10% off of. Set up a subscription, get them mailed to you, or if you're local, come by and pick them up. So many great options for you to enjoy these comics.
That's right.
But let's get into this week, starting with our featured comics and pretty much the big one for, I don't know, for the year, but for so far in the year for Marvel.
This is a Blood Hunt #1. So this is Marvel's big summer event, and it all kicks off. Well, actually, it doesn't kick off right here. It's going to kick off in the. I guess it does because the free comic. This comes out on May 1st, but there's going to be a free comic book day like preview kind of thing. But that comes out 3 days later on the 4th. So I guess it really does kick off here.
It's a weird how it lined up.
Yeah. So this event, the main part of this event anyway, is going to be written by Jed MacKay, and the art is by Pepe Larraz. So you know it's going to read great. It's going to look great, and this is all about. The skies going dark in the Marvel universe, and vampires have risen up out of all the creepy little scary places, and they are going to look up to take over the world, and you know the heroes are going to have to stop them, and that's pretty much all we know right now. We don't really know details about who's behind this. We do know that there is a I think the new group of vampires that is behind this is called the Blood Coven. We got a free preview that came out this week.
Yeah, this week.
Yeah, that shows you like like 5 pages from the first issue. You've got the Blood Coven right here, which we don't know much about them yet.
Really, this is an event that hasn't had a lot of lead up to it. It's
Right.
not like we've been seeing like vampires here and there. Really, other than like the Blade book or whatever.
Yeah.
This is. It feels like it would be a really good jumping on point for an event.
Yeah, I've had questions about, what should we read leading up to this to get prepared for this? Nothing really. I mean, maybe Blade, like you said, but there hasn't been a whole lot of hints dropped. There's not like there's, hints about vampires in the books. This is kind of just like starting sort of its own thing. But yeah, it all starts right here. So, if you're interested in this. Now, there are a whole bunch of tie-ins that we will be talking about in the weeks to come, but none of those are on FOC this weekend. This weekend, it's just regular old Blood Hunt #1, the start of the whole thing. So if you're interested in this event, then now is the time to pre-order the first issue. So we have our A cover right here by Pepe Larraz. We also have this. So what this is what they're calling the red band version. And this is going to be polybagged. And this is going to have a couple extra pages. It's going to be a little bit more mature, a little bit bloodier, that kind of thing. Probably not to the level of like DC's Black Label books, but a little bit more mature than just a regular Marvel comic that you'd pick up off the stands. And, polybagged for the kids' protection, just so they don't open the thing and see a vampire ripping somebody's neck off or something. So,
if you read, it was Pepe Larraz on Nemesis, wasn't it? Nemesis Reloaded?
No, he did Big Game.
Big Game, yeah. So you'll see there. He can get pretty over the top.
That's right. So this is a slightly different version. Like I said, I want to say that it did say a couple extra full pages.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure, but a little bit extra content, a little bit bloodier. But the red band version, if you want the more adult version, the more mature version, I should say, this is the only cover. So I think there's maybe an incentive cover, but this is the only open order variant for the red band version. All the other variants we'll show you are for the regular version. So that includes an Art Germ variant with Tiger on the cover. I love that. There's a David Baldeon Fangs variant. That's Blade right there.
It looks like he's chewing gum, and it's just like stuck to his teeth.
There is a Javier Fernandez. This is a foil variant, which looks really cool. There's a John Tyler Christopher negative space variant with Blade as he looked in his very first appearance. There's a Lionel Francis Yu. This is a wraparound variant, and I believe this looks like it's the back.
This is the back side
Yeah.
of it,
And then there's a Peach Momoko variant as well. And again, all of these variants are the regular version, and then the more mature version. It's only just that one red band edition.
Now, do we know if they're doing red bands for each issue or just the first?
I want to say all of them, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah,
we need to
stay
look.
tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for that.
This is going to be your spot to come to for all Blood Hunt information as we learn it.
Yep.
Okay, next up is Action Comics 1064. So this is going to be a big one because this kicks off the House of Brainiac. Now we know House of Brainiac is going to partially feed into the new Absolute Power big event that DC's doing, which is interesting because that's also kind of the Free Comic Book Day book. Right. So this is happening closer to that.
Yeah.
That story's building in an interesting way.
Yeah, but the Absolute Power doesn't come out till like July, I think. So House of Brainiac is going to be a 3-month-long story because this comes out on April 9th. And then we're going to be living in this story until Absolute Power much later in the summer. So it's not, don't feel like it's going to all crowd together. It's going to naturally lead into the next story.
So this is going to be by Joshua Williamson and Rafa Sandoval that's doing the art. I'm very excited about that. So in this, Brainiac has built his Zarnian army. Is what Lobo is. Yep. And those are going to be not too pleasant to deal with. They're like half army, half like party animals.
Yeah.
And I believe we saw him kind of dealing with those in the end of another issue from a few months back.
Yeah, briefly, yeah.
But he's going to be taking this army to Metropolis, but why? Now that's the big question that we're gonna have to figure out because you're gonna have the whole super family going up against these Zarnians, but Brainiac usually has a particular MO. His thing is he collects usually cities. He puts them in bottles, all of that. But he's not trying to do that to Metropolis. So what is his purpose for being there? What is he looking for? I feel like that's going to be the big story. That's going to be kind of behind the scenes building as this storyline goes on. So I think this is going to be awesome. Definitely if you're interested in the big stuff going on at DC with their big events coming up, all of that, part of it is right here that you'll want to jump on board with. Plus, the way that this is the Action Comics All-Stars, the
Superman All-Stars.
Superman All-Stars. This is Joshua Williamson's first issue of this.
Yeah.
So you can jump in right here and be on board for all of the story that's going to be happening for House of Brainiac.
And the way the House of Brainiac is going to work is it's going to bounce back and forth between Action Comics and Superman. Yep. Whatever the next issue of Superman is, I don't think it's not on FOC this weekend, but that's going to be part 2. Then back to this for part 3. So it's going to go back and forth. I think there's going to be a House of Brainiac one-shot in there somewhere, and I think Power Girl's going to tie into. But it's still pretty self-contained.
Yeah.
Mostly just to Action Comics and Superman.
Right. Yeah. So easy to follow where it's going. Yeah. But it all starts right here.
Very reminiscent of the 90s when they would just tell one big grandiose story, but it would weave in between all 4 Superman titles. It reminds me of that.
So I'm very excited about this. Sounds really, really good. I'm very interested to see. I love Joshua Williamson's Superman in general.
Yep.
It's been so good, and I feel like this is just another great piece in his tapestry of Superman.
Yeah, and Rafa Sandoval's art is great. Yeah. So this is going to, just like Blood Hunt's going to read well, it's going to look good. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
So this is our A cover. We also have, this is the Jorge Jimenez cover. Of course, there is one of those bottled cities. We have a Paulo Rivera variant. I'm guessing Superman's probably going to have to team up with Lobo because I don't think Lobo's working for Brainiac. I think he might be opposing.
That'll be part of the story. I think it did say something like Lobo's going to have to make a decision about which way to go in this.
And for so long, he thought he was the last one.
Yeah.
So he's going to have a wake-up call. We also have a Michael Walsh variant, which I really like anytime Superman and Lois are together. And we have this one, which is really funny. This is the Maria Wolf April Fool's Ultra Humanite cover. So I guess maybe we'll be getting some April Fool's covers coming up.
I guess now we have that April Fool's special coming out next week. You're going to be reading that for
Yeah.
Monday, and I guess they're going to follow that up with a bunch of April Fool's
And like the joke
variants.
on him is just like a banana.
Yeah.
It's fun.
All right, so next is Roxxon presents Thor #1. So stay with me here because this is a little bit tricky to explain. I had trouble doing this in like 30 seconds on Wednesday's show. So this, I'm pretty sure that this is just a one shot. It's not some big new Thor event or anything like that. It's written by Al Ewing. The art is by Greg Land. So in the current Immortal Thor series, the Minotaur, he is the CEO of Roxxon. Well, Roxxon, and this is all in the comic, Roxxon bought Marvel Comics that exists inside the Marvel Comics that we read. Marvel Comics has existed inside Marvel Comics for decades, like since the 60s.
Since the 60s.
Yeah. So the Minotaur, CEO of Roxxon, bought the in-universe Marvel Comics, and they have rebranded it to Roxxon Comics. And in an attempt, and it gets a little bit meta, a little bit fourth wall breaky, a little in this new Roxxon Comics that they've created. They are seeking to, from what I understand anyway, we'll understand more when this actually comes out, but they are seeking to skew the public's perception of Thor. So they make this comic, Roxxon Presents Thor, and this is about Thor, whose alter ego is Chad Hammer. He is an AI spokesperson. And there's a group of environmental activists that take saving the Earth a little bit too far. So Chad Hammer is going to have to raise his Thor with the Roxxon logo on it. And he's going to have to team up with his allies, the Minotaur, the Executioner, the Enchantress, who we know as villains. But since this is written from their perspective, they're the heroes in this story. And also the Thor truck. Thor is going to have a big old Thor truck that they are going to team up to take down these evil environmentalists, right? And the solicitation says this is a vital part of the Absolute Absolution mega event, which is not a real event to us, but in this universe, there is a big Absolute Absolution event that they are reading inside the comic. So it sounds, like I said, it's a little bit crazy, a little bit weird.
What if like a corporation tried to write a comic with all of their sponsorships, all of their stuff in there?
Yeah, it's very, even though Disney owns Marvel, they still let Marvel basically do their own thing. But this is very corporate approved, advertisements everywhere. You can see the Roxxon sign on the cover there. So it sounds a little bit strange. I think we'll know more about this too when Immortal Thor #9 comes out next month. #8 just came out this week. And doesn't really touch on this too much. I think #9 will #9 is the next issue before this comes out, so that'll give us a little bit more. I think it's before anyway, but you can even see he's got the big T on his chest and everything. So I think it sounds like a lot of fun, very creative, very unique. And again, I think this is a one shot, so it's not a big commitment or anything. Just sounds like a really fun story to read.
And I wonder, because we've seen a little bit of reality shifting, if there's some magic behind
I think
this,
there is.
where it's going to, what happens in the comics might start changing people's perception of the actual Thor.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think that's what we'll see in Immortal Thor #9. Because the last couple issues, as we have been reading the story of what Thor and Loki are doing, the last couple panels of the issue, it kind of zooms out, and you see the Minotaur reading the same thing that we're reading as he turns the page. So there's going to be some magic stuff in here.
I think this could be really fun.
Yeah, I think this will be really, really fun. So this is our A cover by Greg Land. We have an 80 Granov variant, and then there is a Nick Bradshaw connecting variant, which this connects to #9, I believe it is. We talked about that. I think it was last week. So you can connect those two together.
Next up, we have a new one from McFarlane in the Spawn universe. This is Rat City. This is going to be written by Erica Schultz, and the art is by Z. Carlos, who did this cover right here. The art is awesome. I really like this because it's, we're used to Spawn being kind of dark and gritty. This is kind of like cyberpunk future.
Yeah.
So in this extra-sized first issue, we meet a new character named Peter Cairn, and he is an ex-soldier. In whatever future war he was fighting in, he became an amputee. But as they are repairing him, which I got to see an early preview copy that they sent us digitally. So I scanned through this. It looks like very we're gonna rebuild this
Yeah, we
guy
have
with
the technology.
the best we can. But one of the things is the leg that they put on him has been infected with nanites, or the nanites in his leg were infected by Al Simmons when he initiated a necroplasmic detonation. Now, I couldn't remember if we'd seen that happen in the main Spawn book, but it was a thing that happened, and it was so big that it affected time and space. So it seems like it happened in the future as well.
Yeah.
And this action is what is going to create this new Hellspawn in the future. So there is some ties back to classic Spawn in this. Al Simmons is, of course, mentioned. We in that preview, it did show that explosion that
Okay.
all made all that happen. So I feel like this is still going to be a good jumping on point.
Oh yeah.
But just a really cool idea.
Yeah, it is.
Great. It looks like, I mean, this could have even been based off of an old McFarlane toy.
I was gonna say it looks
design.
like the manga Spawn figure
Yeah.
that I got in back in the '90s with the chest things that go like that. Like that was a really cool
Yeah.
figure.
So I think this is going to be great if maybe you're reading the main Spawn book, or maybe you haven't read a Spawn book in a while. I feel like this is going to be a great one to jump on to, especially if you like the cyberpunk future.
I like what you said on
neons.
Wednesday. This is kind of like the Batman Beyond of Spawn.
Yes.
I think that sounds cool.
So I'm very excited about
Yeah.
this. We're going to be getting a lot more new Spawn titles, but they all seem very distinct, and I think sounds like one of the coolest ones. So we've got an A cover here for this, and that is it. So there is, I think, a sketch cover,
Okay.
but they're really holding back on the variant covers. We saw Sam and Twitch didn't have any variants, or
Right,
might
yeah.
have had one variant. So it's kind of like that. There may be another one that becomes available this weekend, but I don't believe they're going too hard on the variant. So
And this is going to be $3.99. You said it's double size
Yeah.
though. So I want to say that McFarlane said that they're committed to keeping all their books at $2.99. But this one $3.99 because it's a little bit bigger.
yeah, I think he said that's the only time they'll make exceptions,
Yeah.
when it's like an extra sized
Yeah.
issue.
So next is the Blood Brothers' Mother. #1. So this is a new book from Distillery. This is written by Brian Azzarello, and the art is by Eduardo Risso. So that's your 100 Bullets team right there. This is set in the old American West. You can see right there on the cover. It looks like an Old West tale. 3 children set out to rescue their mother, who was kidnapped by some ruthless outlaws who gunned down their father. So it sounds like a rescue / revenge tale a little bit. But of course, throughout their journey, they are going to run up against unforgiving landscape and other bandits, deadly animals, that kind of thing. So they're setting out to rescue their mother, but it's definitely not going to be easy. Just a new book from Distillery. We got a preview of this in the Devil's Cut one shot that came out a while back, and I thought it looked really cool. So here is the first full issue, and I don't know if this is going to be a 3 or a 4 issue miniseries. A lot of them have been 3, but I think one of them coming up is 4. So in that neighborhood somewhere of 3 or 4 issues. So this is our A cover right here. We have an Eduardo Risso variant, and then there's the first one was Eduardo Risso too, and then this is Dave Johnson right here.
Yeah, I'm all for
like
more
that one.
Western books too. That's such a genre that helped build comics.
Oh yeah.
War comics, westerns, horror, all of those kind of predated superhero.
Mhm.
And so I like that, we've got some new ones of those. Okay, next up, it's Disney's Hercules from Dynamite. So Dynamite's been doing a bunch of different Disney books. We got Cruella, we got Maleficent, we've got Lilo and Stitch.
Wasn't there 101
Gargoyles,
Dalmatians? 100?
this is the Cruella.
Cruella.
one.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
But this time we are getting Hercules, which I think this is really cool. So this is by Elliot Kalin, who was a writer on The Daily Show,
Okay.
and George Combadius, who is the artist on Gargoyles, coming together to tell this issue that is, or this series that takes place after the Disney's Hercules movie. At the end of that, Hercules decided he didn't want to become a god. He was fine with what he is and working among the people, all of that. Well, now the ancient world sees that and they say, "Oh, well, now we want you to do some stuff for us. We see how you're, helping people. You're super heroic, all of that. We want to enlist you to help in some extraordinary feats." So it sounds a little like the labors of Hercules,
Mm-hmm.
like uh, that myth. But in this one, there is an artist who has their sculpture brought to life by Aphrodite. But turns out that the sculpture, whenever you turn a sculpture real, there's going to be some
Yeah.
problems. And Hercules is going to have to show up to help clean up the mess. But also, it seems like Aphrodite goes missing. And what is the bigger story going on here? It's gonna have some family drama
Mm-hmm.
between the Olympians, all of that. So we saw Hercules go from zero to hero. Now, what I say before, he's got to go the distance.
Yeah, I got
I'm
nothing.
trying to think of all the Hercules songs,
Yeah.
but I think this sounds great. Their other Disney stuff are also awesome. I love the first issue of Lilo and Stitch, Gargoyles, of course. So we've got a bunch of covers here. This is Dynamite, so I don't even think I have all the covers. So head over to infinityflux.net to see all of them. This is our A cover. We also have this Lolly variant, so it looks like you're gonna have your whole fun cast of characters with Phil and Meg, and we've also got this is the Tomaselli variant, and we also have the Rinaldi negative space variant.
Doesn't look really negative
You
space
can
though.
still see a lot of
Yeah,
lines.
yeah, there's a lot there. All right, so next up is Ultimate Black Panther #3. So #2 came out this week. It was fantastic, and this is just going to continue that story. We saw at the end of issue #2 that Black Panther has embarked on his own solo mission to take down Ra and Khonshu, and that is what he is going to be doing in this issue. While he's gone, Wakanda's conflict with Moon Knight, the group. Again, it still sounds weird to refer to Moon Knight as a group and not a person. But Wakanda's conflict with the group Moon Knight it's going to start becoming a little bit too much for them to bear. But everything changes when those two guys over there, Storm and Killmonger, show up now. We've seen them a little bit in issue #1. We saw Storm for like a half second in issue #2, along with a prophecy that may or may not be related to her. We don't know yet.
Yep.
But this issue, I think, is where we're going to get our first big look at Ultimate Storm and Ultimate Killmonger and see, what their relationship is with Black Panther, how they get along, that kind of thing. So I'm super excited for this. I think this will be great. The first two issues have been great. I think this will be too. This is our A cover. We have a Boss Logic Ultimate Special variant. That looks crazy.
Yeah.
There is a Joshua Cassara variant. Okay, and then we have our second printing of #2, which again came out this week. If you missed out, if your shop doesn't have it, if you can't find it, no worries. Second print is on FOC this weekend. And there is, okay, and then go along with that, there is a third printing of Ultimate Spider-Man #2 as well. So we just wanted to go ahead and put all the Ultimate books together
Yep.
for you, let you know about new printings because these books are great and they keep selling.
Yep.
They keep selling out. So we just want to let you know about new printings in case you've missed them.
I like this. I think that's May
Yeah.
Parker there with squeezing Spider-Man.
Yeah, love that.
Okay, next up we have a new book called Uncanny Valley. This is from Boom and is written by Tony Fleecs, who is fantastic. Stray Dogs. We've got the upcoming Feral, Local Man,
Yeah.
and the art is by Dave Watcher. And this is really cool. It's hard to figure out exactly what this is going to be about when we read it, but it is about Oliver, who is a seemingly typical 12-year-old, except he's got powers, and they're very cartoonish in nature. Now, I'm not sure if that means like will like smish like a
Yeah.
accordion or what he can do. It looks like there's other characters that are very cartoony if he can create these. I'm not quite sure, but it seems to be tied to his family's history and especially his mother, who maybe had these same powers, not quite sure. But it's going to be kind of a coming of age story where Oliver's going to have to find his place in this world. It also mentions that he is being pursued by these cartoonish crows, this murder of cartoonish crows, which I think sounds really interesting as well. I like how you look at all the things you can almost like. It's almost Yosemite Sam. It's almost Ryu from
Yeah.
Street Fighter. There's kind of an uncanny valley to that. But I think this sounds really fun, and I really like Tony Fleeks's writing.
Yeah.
So we've got this A cover right here, and we have this Fleeks variant. So maybe he can go into another world that's like cartoony. But what I really like about this is like the different art styles.
Yeah.
That's going to be a really fun thing.
Makes
to
me
watch.
think of like Roger Rabbit or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Okay, next up we got other number ones. There's still a few other number ones we wanted to mention, starting with
I'm sorry, not Ultimate, Giant Size Incredible Hulk #1. This is the next of the Giant Size books. We've had Miles Morales, Fantastic Four, Gwen Stacy, or Spider-Gwen, I guess.
Okay.
And then now we've got the Incredible Hulk. Not a whole lot of details about this one. We do know it's written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, and the art is by Andrea Ricardo. This is someone has been stolen from the Hulk by a gruesome new threat with evil machinations in mind, and presumably the Hulk is going to have to go get him. Now, these giant-sized books have been great because the stories have been one-and-done stories. They're just like, you pick it up, you read it, you get a whole story, and you're done after that. Don't really need to know a whole lot going in, and there's not a whole lot left when you're done. These are just cool one-and-done stories, sort of mimicking the giant-sized books that we used to get back in the 70s. And this is also going to reprint Hulk number 372. That's part of Peter David's run with Dale Keown on art. Part of that really awesome run. I don't remember which story that was. I think it was a little bit before we got the Smart Hulk. I think that was 377. But yeah, just including that issue as well. So this is our A cover by Brian Hitch. There is a Chris Allen Stormbreakers. Wait, that's the. I think this one might be an incentive.
Oh, okay.
This has a 25 copy incentive. So
well,
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean it's a 1 in 25, so maybe your shop will have this. But then there's a Chris Allen Stormbreakers variant, and then there is a Dave Barden Deadly Foes variant, which is all of Hulk's Rogues Gallery, which is pretty plentiful.
I always like that guy with the double face guy with his two heads stacked on top of each other.
Oh, I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I always like him. He seems like a He-Man villain.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we've got a new one called Bio-Mechs. This is from a new publisher. I believe it's called Black Box.
Well, they're not new, but they're a lot smaller.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this one really stood out. So this is by Jay Sandlin, and art is by Kleber Souza Lima, who did your cover right here. And it's about a far-off galaxy planet, away from Earth. There's beings of metal and circuits, and they've spent eons constructing this kind of beautiful utopia planet that is, equal parts tech and design and all of that. Everything's going great until a swarm of insectoid aliens called the Hive invade, wanting to harvest the Bio-Mechs for technology and parts. So it sounds really fun. I like, this like all robot world.
It sounds very 80s. You've
It
got
does.
your robot race, but then you've got your insect race, and they're the bad guys, and
You
they're
gotta
going to
buy
fight.
the action figures,
Yep,
the
yep.
two different sides. Yeah, that definitely appeals to me. So we've got our A cover right here by Lima, your interior artist. We have a Batista variant, which I mean that totally looks like almost like a Build-A-Figure or something. We have a Romandelli variant. And we have a Forte variant, which that character is just cool looking. The sword, the gun arm, just...
His action figure would be all like vac metal, all chromed out that would rub off eventually. Yeah. Next is Silicon Bandits #1. So this is by Magma, who is definitely a new publisher. I think we talked about one of their books last week, and this is another new book. This is written by Jason Starr, and the art is by Dalibor Talajic. This is set in a near future where automation has caused mass unemployment. Like the robots took all our jobs, basically. But there are two programmers named Kenji and Aurora who thought their jobs were safe because they're programmers. Somebody's got to program the machines, but suddenly they get fired as well. So they hatch a plan to assemble a heist crew out of androids that they themselves program. So they program these androids to go steal a bunch of stuff so that they don't have to work, or since they can't work, I guess. But their crime spree goes fine until the androids maybe start acting up, maybe start betraying them, not really going along with their plans, and going to cause a lot of problems for them. So it sounds really fun. We have our A cover right here, and then there is a Goran Parlov variant as well.
Next up, we got notable 2s and 3s. There's a lot here. A lot of series are just starting
Yeah.
or just started or about to start that are continuing. So, beginning with a book that I loved the first issue of.
I loved the first issue of this. This
Well,
was so
I
good.
love the first issue. This is the Spectacular Spider-Man issue number 2. So in this one, if you read the first one, you know there's a lot of really great out of costume stuff between Peter and Miles. They've been going to this coffee shop, just trying to build this like friendship along with their partnership, all of that, and that is continuing in this one after the last one where they encountered a version of the Jackal
Yeah.
that was very monsterfied.
Mm-hmm.
They even tried to like pull his mask off, and it wasn't a mask;
Yeah,
it
it was
was
his
actually his
face.
face.
Yeah.
They are kind of meeting at this coffee shop to discuss all this stuff going on to try to figure out what who's behind all of this. But it also teases in the solicitation for this and what's up with the interludes. So in the first issue, there were a lot of
Yeah.
one-page little things where with characters we didn't know, didn't seem related at all, but it looks like they're all maybe gonna start coming together. Maybe it's who knows how long that game's gonna be, but I'm very interested to see what is the big story here. So I'm very excited about issue number 2 for this. This is our A cover by Ramos. We have our Carmen Carnero variant. We have a Mike McCone vampire variant, which is an homage to that.
Amazing Spider-Man 101.
Yep.
First appearance of Morbius. Yep.
We have a
I
Will Sliney homage variant.
don't know what that one's an homage to.
I think that's Hulk 181.
Oh, you're right.
So Miles is
Yeah.
like the Yeti character. Whatever
Wendigo.
Wendigo.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Then we also have a second printing of number 1. This is the Humberto Ramos second printing variant. I can't believe I couldn't remember Yeti's name. Or Wendigo's name. I can't think of Yeti from Alpha Flight.
Right. All right, so this is Black Widow and Hawkeye number 2. The first issue came out this week, and I thought it was great. This was a lot of fun. The artwork was great. It was a really interesting story. This is our second issue. I like this. This says tensions between Black Widow's symbiote and Hawkeye put him in danger. He even made a snide little, not snide, because it was very heartfelt, but he says, "Hey, you've got a symbiote now. We're going to talk about that later." So yeah, he's concerned about that. But it sounds like maybe he's not getting along so much with that symbiote, and Natasha is going to have to decide where her loyalties lie with the symbiote. I don't know if that means between the symbiote and Clint, or in the first issue, it sounded like maybe, or from what we learned in the first issue, maybe she's not gonna be helping him so much. So I'm not really sure. More to come, but I really like the first issue. And here's the second one. So we have our A cover right here. We have a Carmen Carnero vampire variant. There is a Jesus Saez variant, and then there is a Todd Knock window shades variant. I
like
love
he's
that.
shooting out the window.
Yeah, I love that they keep coming up with cool ways to do these.
Also, I know it's Sasquatch from Alpha Flight.
Oh, not yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's a like a white version of him. I think Marvel has a Yeti character. I don't know. I've got to prove that I know what I'm talking
Let
about.
us know if you know what we're talking about.
Because I don't. Okay, next up we have Star Wars Mace Windu number 3, issue number 2, came out this week. Very interesting. It seems like they're introducing a lot of new concepts in this series. We saw the brief introduction of a brand new bounty hunter in the last one named Yaya Shram, who is a Zellan, same as like Babu Frick, but he's a bounty hunter. So he's going to be hunting down Mace Windu and his companions. Also, they're introducing 2 new characters, one named Murrow and one named Daya. They are members of a cult called, or they're members of a cult. They're Dusk Weavers of the Haddle Path, who are obsessed with wiping out all technology from the galaxy. So they're really introducing, like, every issue of this has had some kind of new concepts and stuff, which is really cool. So this is our A cover. We also have our Come and Coley Master and Apprentice variant. And then we have a Dave Watcher variant with, that's your new Yaya Shrem, your new bounty hunter.
It's interesting to think of him as a bounty hunter.
Yeah. Consider you could probably kick him across the room if you had to.
This is Ghost Rider Final Vengeance #2. The first issue of this came out this week. This one, or the in the first one, we saw that the demon Zarathos jumped in and out of bodies to try to find a new host, and landed in Parker Robbins, the Hood. So now the Hood is the new Ghost Rider, but he does not intend on using his new powers for good. And this also says the mystery of Johnny Blaze's disappearance continues, because Johnny Blaze as Ghost Rider was right in the middle of fighting a big monster when Zarathos left him, leaving him, normal Johnny Blaze, in the face of this big monster. So we're going to find out what's happened to him. So if you like the first issue, don't miss this one. This is our A cover. We have a Casagrande Stormbreakers variant. I like that. I like that. That's not the Hood, but that's
That
like...
almost looks like Shang-Chi or somebody as...
Yeah, that's pretty neat, though. Jeff Shaw, a vampire variant, and then there is a Mark Teixeira variant. That's your classic 90s Ghost Rider artist.
I like the Hood's look as Ghost Rider with the flaming skull under the hood. Is kind of...
Yeah, because it kind of lights it up inside, but like, wouldn't the hood just catch on fire? Like the actual hood?
Not with Hellfire.
That's
Same
true.
reason why his tires don't melt.
That's true.
Okay, next up we have What If Venom #3. So we got What If Venom #2 this week with Wolverine, but we do see that it is going to be somehow moving on to Doctor Strange. So he is going to be the symbiote supreme. What is this going to mean for the whole story? Who knows?
Who knows?
It's really fun to see all these different incarnations of the characters.
His cloak looks like a Venus flytrap. It's gonna
it's kind of like,
like get his head.
It's gonna bite his own head. So this is our A cover, and then there is a Peach Momoko variant.
Next is Batman Dylan Dog #2 of a 3-issue miniseries. The first one came out this week, and this was good as well. In this one, Batman is searching for Catwoman after the events of last issue. He's going all through the streets of London searching for her, while Dylan Dog turns to John Constantine for help tracking down Dr. Zabras. So Constantine's going to show up in this, which is pretty cool. So this is our A cover by Gigi Cavanago, and then there is a B cover also by Gigi Cavanago, who is your interior artist.
And next up, we've got Suicide Squad Dream Team #2, issue #1 of that came out this week. I really liked it. I thought it was a really cool concept. I really like how they use Dreamer and her abilities, because looks like they're I don't know, pretty dangerous, really. But in this one, they're working for Amanda Waller, even though they don't really want to, and Dreamer makes a break for it out of the squad. And of course, this does not make Amanda Waller too happy. So we're still leading up, like it says, this is the countdown to absolute power. I'm very interested to see what clues are in this towards that. But overall, I think this is a really fun story as well. This is our A cover. We also have a Sweeney Boo variant, which is really fun. And we have a Jerry Gaylord variant as well with your team.
Next is Sinister Sons #3. This is going to be a 6-issue miniseries. In this one, this one sounds cool. The Sinister Sons find themselves in the belly of a giant space whale with no means of escape, but they are not alone. And it says, enter Spaceman Joe. So that sounds like that might be a new character, maybe a first appearance of a new character.
There was a character that showed up, which I assume is that character at the end of issue 2. But he was like in a big spacesuit, kind of like that in the background, but you couldn't see the face. It was all blacked out.
Oh, so maybe that's him.
Is this somebody we know, or is it a new character?
I'm not sure, but I guess we'll find out in this issue. So this is our A cover, and then there's a Carlo Barberi variant as well.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah. That's cool. Okay, next up we've got Thundercats #3. So issue #2 was cool because it really kind of started its own path in introducing Calica, and is she
good or bad? I
don't know. But in this one, it does say, why is Lion-O so drawn to Calica? Because that was the thing in this last issue, was like they hit it off to the point of like he was kind of falling in love with her like right away.
But at the same time, he's still, even though he's an adult body, he's a young boy with a pretty girl. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
But but Panthro and Chitara are not quite sure of this new member that they have. So I'm really excited for it, seeing how this continues, because I really like the story they're setting up. We've got some great covers. So this is our A cover by Nakayama. We have a Panthro cover by Purio. We have a Shalvey There
I
with
like
the
that. The
Thunder
Thunder
Tank.
Tank.
Very cool. We have a Lee and Chung variant, which you've got some great characters on there. You've got a Tau variant. We've got the FOC Liefeld variant. And this next one might give you a hint of what also might happen in this issue. Snar.
Snar.
It's a very interesting looking Snarf. A little bit more like cat-like, like the way he's like
Yeah.
slinking around. And this is your Drew Moss cover.
Next is Napalm Lullaby #2. The first issue of this one came out this week, and it was really interesting. Written by Rick Remender, the art is by Bengal. In this one, our brother-sister duo, whose names I do not remember, but that's them on the cover. They have 24 hours to break into the Forbidden Temple, the big dome city we saw at the end of the first issue. They have 24 hours to get in there and to take out the magnificent leader to rescue the only person who can save the world and kill the god who is hell-bent on destroying it. So just continuing on. The first issue was a bit of a setup, introducing us to this world. I think things are really going to get kicked off here. So this is our A cover, and I think this is the only one.
Yep, only one. Next up, we got Helen of Wyndhorn, #2. #1 came out this week. I really, really liked it. Felt like some classic Vertigo storytelling, literary, where you've got Helen. She returns to her kind of family home, only to discover it's really big and maybe full of mysteries and some magic-y stuff. We'll have to see. But in this one, she goes to explore the house and the grounds and encounters inhabitants both real and fictional. So definitely pick this one up this week. If you're looking for something a little bit different, something a little bit more less like fighting, more really interesting fantasy adjacent. And there's just the one cover for this and a foil version of this cover as
Nice.
well, like they did with the first one.
Next is Penthouse Comics #2. This one is going to continue 4 of the stories from the first issue. Plus, it introduces a new story called "The Dead All Have the Same Skin." Yeah, no.
They should be sharing that.
Yeah, no. Not really sure who the creative team is on that new story, but if you got the first issue, 4 of those stories are going to keep going, and then we're getting a new one as well. And we have this really nice lyrics cover for the A cover. We have a Vecchio variant. We have a Savage cover, and then we have a polybagged Maleficent variant. And I hope that YouTube doesn't ban us for showing all those just now.
Nah, they're fine. There's been worse Vampirella covers.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we got cool covers. So a lot of really cool stuff here, starting with Spider-Boy issue #6. And in this one, Bailey has found his way back to Madame Monstrosity, who created him. So I feel like, wrapping up this big first story arc, we're going to get some more of his origin stuff.
That's a really detailed cover. Like, there's a lot
Yeah.
to that. Like, that's very sinister. Like, everything, it's all zoomed in. Normally, Spider-Boy, we see him from far away. That's really cool.
So this is our A cover for that. And then we have a Ben Sue vampire cover, which is really fun.
Next is Avengers Twilight #5. There wasn't a whole lot of specifics in the solicitation for this issue in particular, but we did get some big reveals in #4 that came out this week, and should be really interesting to see how those play out, because it was a couple of shocking reveals and could change the direction of the story just a little bit. So we have our A cover right here, and we wanted to show you this Ben Sue Lightning Bolt variant.
And next up, we got Fall of the House of X #4. And in this one, it's starting to bring the two series, the Fall of the House of X and the Rise of Powers of 10, are going to be converging because there is a ultimate betrayal. So this is our Gist cover with Emma Frost. And then we also have this Massafara Foreshadow variant, which who knows what that's about. Very interesting.
No idea. Next is Spider-Woman #6. We wanted to show you this really cool Belen Ortega vampire variant. This one is the start of a new story arc. So if you missed out the first story arc, you want to jump on, this is a good place to do it. This sounds interesting too, because it says that Jess leaves New York and heads towards San Francisco, but her trip across the country is not going to be a smooth ride. But this is the cool part. This says it introduces some new faces with the potential to become new champions. And it said new champions like capital N, capital C.
Interesting.
So maybe some new characters that might result in a new champions team. I don't know, but
That's an interesting place to kind of start as a
yeah.
Spider-Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Batman and Robin number 8. This one is cool because they're continuing this story with all the man bats and everything. And Batman is in the clutches of a cult that worships man bat. So this is our Kale New cover.
I like that because most fathers and sons play catch in the yard. They spar in front of a big dinosaur.
Yeah, that's what everybody wishes they could do.
Right.
And then we also have this Jim Lee variant.
Next is Green Lantern number 10. I love this issue number 9. This one, number 9 was so cool. Gave us a lot of answers behind Hal Jordan's ring and why it was different, why it was doing the things that it was doing. No, so this one we talked about Action Comics 1064 earlier, the kickoff to House of Brainiac. The backup story in this is going to be a House of Brainiac tie-in featuring Guy Gardner. It's called Guy's Bogus Lobo Adventure. The art is by Kevin McGuire of classic, JLI.
He's a great person to be working on, Guy.
Absolutely, and that backup story is gonna be 3 parts, and it starts in this one. That's just the backup, though. This one, the main story, Hal leaves Earth, heads to Oa to uncover the mystery surrounding the central power batteries and what's going on with them. Carol Ferris makes a choice that changes her destiny forever. So maybe she'll decide to be with Hal. Who knows? It's going to be weird because he's not even on Earth right now. But number 9 was great. This one should be good as well. This is our Doc Shaner variant. And then we have a Jorge Fornes variant as well. I love that. That just, yeah.
Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Something about the Green Lantern green up against like a starry sky. It's just perfect.
Yep.
Okay, next up we have Transformers number 7. Very excited about this one. This is the start of a new story arc. After the craziness that just happened in the last issue, you now have who will lead the Decepticons. We even saw something because it's going to be between Starscream and Soundwave. And Soundwave had a very interesting moment in the last issue that he didn't act right away, but there's some stuff, between the Decepticons that maybe is not very, they're not as tightly bound together as the Autobots are. And the Autobots learn they may have some unexpected allies. So who could that be? Not sure, but very excited about this. Continues to be one of the most exciting books on the shelf. And this is also when Jorge Corona is taking over art duties. I guess for a little while. I'm not quite sure how long, but very interested to see that. This is our A cover. And we also have our Corona B cover. So that's what your interior is going to look like.
Yeah, and Jorge Corona is awesome, but I was a little bit bummed because Daniel Warren Johnson has just been killing it on the art, big action, and I was a little bit bummed that maybe we're going to be losing out on that. But they released a few preview pages of Jorge Corona's work in this issue. It still is epic. There's still a lot of big fights and hits and smashes, so it looks like it won't miss a beat whatsoever.
Awesome. Next up, we have graphic novels and more, like new printings, all of that good stuff.
Starting with Punisher, The Bullet That Follows trade paperback. This is going to be $15.99, and it collects Punisher number 1 through 4. This new series that just wrapped up featuring Joe Garrison as your new Punisher. All of that is collected here.
And we have Hellboy, Crooked Man, and Return of Effie Kolb trade paperback. Now, this has been collected in other things, but this is in particular cool because this is what the new Hellboy movie is going to be based off of.
Very cool.
Is Crooked Man.
Okay.
And talk about a horrifying story with awesome art by Richard Corbin. In this, Hellboy helps a man who has sold his soul to the Crooked Man, who you see in the background. And he's very disturbing when you see him because everything about him is a little crooked and his head's turned sideways. And then there's the sequel, basically, story, The Return of Effie Kolb, which is by Mike Mignola and art is by Zach Howard. And someone has moved into the Crooked Man's old mansion. So, great one here if you want to kind of get an idea of the tone of the new Hellboy movie that we haven't heard too much about in a while, but this is just another little hint towards it. And this is $14.99.
Next is the Dwellings hardcover. This is from Oni Press. Dwellings, being a book of cutesy little characters in very horrific situations and stories. Definitely not for kids, even though it looks like it. But this is a hardcover that's going to collect that whole series, and it's going to be $34.99.
Next up, I'm very excited about this.
Yeah.
This is Secret Six by Gail Simone Omnibus, hardcover, volume 1. This was, when I started getting back into comics, one of my favorite series, and made Catman one of my all-time favorite characters. So you've got all these kind of B, C, D list villains that all come together to form this team, Secret Six. They're very tired of superheroes messing with their minds, doing all that kind of stuff, so they decide to have their revenge, but they're also human characters. They have their different relationships, all of that. You've got characters like Catman, Deadshot, Cheshire, Ragdoll, who is a fantastic character, Scandal Savage. Later, a Parademon joins their team as a character, Bane. Just if you love villains, if you kind of you like the idea, almost like Thunderbolts was at Marvel. This is kind of like that, where you really get to these villains and what makes them tick and their hearts and all that kind of stuff. This is going to be 848 pages.
What makes them tick is probably the bomb in their neck, right?
Well, they don't have that.
Okay.
They do this on their own will, not by Amanda Waller.
Gotcha.
But this collects Villains United, some Birds of Prey issues, just a bunch of great stuff. So if you've never checked out Secret Six, highly, highly recommend it.
And of course, Gail Simone being the new writer on the upcoming Uncanny X-Men later this summer.
So great timing. Her star once again is rising. This is going to be $125.
Next is the second print of Weapon X-Men #1. The first one came out a couple of weeks ago.
Last week, I think.
Yeah, and then now we're just getting the second print of that.
Yeah, this one's really hot because of the first appearance of a couple of, not a bunch of new Wolverines, but the new female...
yeah, the one on the right there, right?
I can't remember what her first name is, but yes.
Because she was in one of the preview panels in the Women of Marvel in that Madam Web story. She was front and center in one of the panels down there. Yes. So, yeah.
And we also have, this one's really cool. This is Brave and the Bold 54 Facsimile Edition. This is pre-Teen Titans, but kind of one of the first times that Kid Flash, Aqualad, and Robin got together, which led to the formation of the Teen Titans. And like all the facsimiles, it's got all the original ads, all of that fun stuff. And I believe there is the regular cover, there's a sketch cover, and there is a foil version of this as well. And that is it for Comics from the Future. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember to head over to infinityflux.net right now, where you can do your pre-orders, get everything in there so you don't miss out on these when they come out, because you never know. You get to your store, they're all sold out, and you start crying, and it's just not a pretty sight. So go ahead, place your pre-orders now, have them shipped to you, or pick them up in store. And stay tuned for our show coming up on Monday, where we'll be going over a lot of the books coming out next week. And there are some really, really good ones.
Yeah.
It was a big list to put together, so you're not going to want to miss that. Remember to like, subscribe, do all that great stuff.
We're so close to 3,000 followers on YouTube, so help us get there. We're really, really close.
Yes, and what is something they can... What's emoji?
Oh, yeah. What's a good emoji? There's a blood emoji, right?
Is there a blood or maybe a... I know texting there's a vampire.
Yeah, like blood or vampires or something. You know, give us like something creepy to represent Blood Hunt, since that's the big thing. Just to let us know you made it all the way through. That should be a lot of fun.
Yes. So, again, thank you for watching. And until next time, see ya.